Hello and welcome to this review of Jack Vance Trullion Alastor 2262. So, Jack Vance. Jack Vance has been a top author for me for years. You know how you're watching the Olympics and at the end you've got this little podium, there's the top star, there's the gold medals, then you've got the silver star, bottom you've got the bronze star, and nothing wrong with a bronze star. You're never going to forget to add a bronze star at the Olympics to your CV, are you? Still, on that top tier, on that gold star level, Jack Vance and Roger Zelazny have been for me since my early teens as I was discovering science fiction in my own right. Beautiful, amazing writing. Even when he's doing pulps, his writing is still really good. And some crazy, amazing concepts that I almost always love and always enjoy. So here we have one that I hadn't read before. I'm pretty sure I got it last year and I finally started reading it in December 2025. Jack Vance was a fascinating man. If you read up on him a little bit, you get the sense of a man who's done so much and it was so interesting. One of the things he did was become an able seaman. Apparently his vision wasn't good, I think, but he managed to pass the eye exams by memorizing the chart and became an able seaman. When he died in, I'm pretty sure, 2013, he was living in California. And so that sea interaction is very relevant for this book. Okay, we've got this gorgeous cover. I don't know the publisher. It's Grafton. It's an English and Australian publisher apparently, and the cover art is done by Steve Crisp. I love how science fiction-y it is. You've got that seaplane, you've got that enormous moon, but you've got that clear vegetation indication that we're looking at a water planet where the vegetation is adapted for high floods and probably tropical scenario. Love the cover. And it's in such good condition. I've been hanging on to this, waiting for the right time, and the time finally came. So, I'm going to read you the back. I don't often do that, but I will. Trullion, World 2262 of the Alastor Cluster. A beautiful water world of fens, mists, idyllic islands set in clear oceans whose teeming richness provides food for the taking. Although there's a darkness to those waters as well. There had to be. The Trill, that's the people who live there, are carefree, easy-living race, but violence enters their lives during the raids of the Starmenters, free-booting galactic pirates whose short, perilous lives are based on the worship of adventure, blah, 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 blah. And then there is the planet-wide game of Husseid, when the Trill's ferocious passion for gambling drives them to risk all, even life itself, on the hazardous water chessboard gaming fields. Their prize? The virginal body of the beautiful Shiel maiden, the body any Trill is willing to die for. Once again, strongly suggesting that the people who were paid to write the backs of these novels had not in fact read the book, nor perhaps ever chatted to anyone who had. Anyhow, I started it, and before you even start, there's this diagram which absolutely fascinated me. It's a diagram of the fens, and all those little dots are islands and channels and waterways and larger islands. There's some villages on there. And I took some time out of my day to, if not memorize it, then at least read it with some attention, because Jack Vance had gone to the effort of drawing this, and as a master seaman and a person who loved boats, this was clearly going to be a big part of the story. And it is. But it doesn't start with Trill or Trullion. It starts with the Galactic Empire. Out toward the rim of the galaxy hangs Alastor Cluster. This world is actually centrally governed by someone called a Conatic. And it talks about the actual empire. And one of the things that it mentions is that on one level of his palace, there's a whole heap of rooms, each one dedicated to a planet in the cluster that is ruled by him. And Trullion is 2262, indicating just how enormous this cluster must be and how enormous this galactic empire. So I'm loving all of this so far, and it's all written and described with Vance's spectacular writing style in a way that was instantly engaging. So the whole setting of the galaxy, and for a change, someone wrote a galactic ruler who was actually sounding sensible. Hello, dinosaur. Who actually sounded sensible, like someone who should be ruling, known for wandering around anonymously in the marketplaces and highways and byways of the world. It was all great. When we finally make it to Alastor, we are set up with the family that we're talking about. The father, whose name I have not retained, J, I can't help thinking. Something with 3 letters. J, Jut. There we go. Jut was a sports champion, a champion of this game Husaid, who married the Shield Maiden from it. Now, the Shield Maidens sound like a combination of the Shield Maidens of Norse mythology, and at first I thought that was what he was writing, and the American notion of cheerleaders at games. At least that's how it seemed to me until I read the description of the game of Husaid, where the Shield Maiden is actually an integral point. So anyway, Jut married the Shield Maiden of his team, whose name is Shira. They had children. There was a daughter who was stolen, by the people who live under the ocean. That's the dark part of these gorgeous oceans that you just want to throw yourself into. But the people of Trill don't swim because this other intelligent race, indigenous intelligent race that live under there, the Merle, will steal people. Plot development. There are 3 sons. There's the older son, and then there's twins. And the twins are described as being very unlike each other from the start. So you've got that 2 brothers who are opposites type trope. And we learn that one, the gregarious, the outgoing, the game-playing one, Glynis, I think he was the older. Yes, he was definitely the older. He ended up joining the military service after a raid by these raiders that don't feature as heavily as the back of the book would suggest. Now, the galactic military in this is called the Whelm. Vance did have this thing with names, and I actually really liked calling the military force the Whelm, as in underwhelmed, overwhelmed, or just whelmed. These are whelmed. Anyway, Glynis joined it, and he served for 10 years. Before finally getting homesick, and then he got a letter from home saying that his father had vanished while hunting the Merle, and that his older brother has taken over. Finding this out, he gets overwhelmed by homesickness and comes home. This homecoming trope also was beautifully done. I loved it, that coming home and things aren't the way you remembered. When he comes home, he finds out that not only has his father vanished into the fens, his older brother has, and the only family left him is his mother and his twin brother, both of whom are behaving oddly. Some weird cult, revolutionary thing is happening, and his brother and potentially his mother are thoroughly involved in it. It's all very tense. And Vance creates that feeling of tension of what is going to happen so strongly that it actually agitates you to read about it. Now, one of the islands belonging to the family, his younger brother sold to some rando, and Glynis wants it back. And so he goes to the bank, but the bank says, unless your older brother is proven dead, which can't be assumed for 4 years, then you can't get the money. Once the 4 years are up, the property will already have been thoroughly legally ceded to the person who bought it. So Glynis is in this situation. And it's wonderfully written. I was thoroughly enjoying the world building. The characterization is actually really good. There is everything about this is pure Vance at his best. And then I DNF'd it at page 70. Ta-da! Surprise. Okay. I'm not saying I've DNF'd it forever, but I may have. And here's the thing. So, as an Australian, my one deeply un-Australian feature is that I don't like sports ball. I'm not interested in two groups of men, women, or other indeterminates racing about fields, chasing balls, or whatever. I don't care. I really, really don't care. And that is very un-Australian of me. Australians love sport. They love soccer. They love league. State of origin. Oh, don't get me started on state of origin. I live on the border of Queensland and New South Wales. I don't even want to. Cricket. Teams of men chasing balls around fields in the heat. I don't know. I don't care. I'm not saying I've never watched a cricket match, but I would only do so if homebrew was involved. And the whole... and tennis. Don't even... Let's mention tennis. So, by page 70, I realised that this book was going to be about the game of Hussard. Now, this has a cultural element. Sure, I can deal with games and the cultural element, but this was clearly going to be a major portion of this book, because Glennis has decided that he's going to sink his money that he got after serving in the military for 10 years. He's going to sink this into some Hussard team in the hope of winning back big. And then, before that, we were treated to a several-page description of the Hussard game, and that was where my heart started sinking. It was clear that where we were going here was sports ball, which is not for me. Hussard does sound like an interesting game, but even Star Trek with that three-dimensional Spock Vulcan chess, I'm not there for that even, let alone for what sounds like essentially a two groups of large sweaty men fighting to win game. There's no ball in this one. So if you are more sports ball inclined, Hussard actually sounds like it could be a fairly interesting one. Certainly Jack Vance has worked it out in a quite detailed way. So you've got a grid, long ways and short ways or similar. I wasn't paying the hugest attention. It's all suspended over water, which is 4 feet deep, and the two teams run across this grid pattern. Apparently there's trapezes that you can use to go between some, but not others. What do they do all this for? Well, somewhere in the midst of all this is standing the Shield Maiden, wearing a white dress, with a gold ring either around her middle or something. There's a gold ring anyway, somewhere, whatever. And the whole goal of this game is for one team to reach the Shield Maiden, the Virgin, Shield Maiden, grab this gold ring off her, at which point the game pauses while the teams negotiate the financial return of the ring and her symbolic purity. There's a lot there, isn't there? There is a lot. And normally I'd be deeply dubious about the whole Shield Maiden. Apparently the Shield Maiden does have to be a virgin, Glenn's told us. Otherwise the men just can't believe in her. And Glenn's is about to just sink all his money into this game in the assumption that he'll win. It's perhaps a little less likely than the winner takes it all type scenarios that we get in some games, because he's been playing this game while he was in the military, so he isn't going to be that terrible. But after having sat through a description of every position on this team and what qualities they need, I was done and dusted. And then on page 70, while I was still wavering, because this will be the first Jack Vance I think I've ever DNF'd. I'm going, I can't, can I? Can't I? I can't. Jack Vance? DNF? Jack Vance? Who am I even? I don't know. And then I realised that having had this discussion with the potential sponsor, Glenn's was sitting on the couch and the two of them were watching old games. I am reading a science fiction book in which two young to middle-aged white guys are sitting on a couch watching sports on TV. Do you see the problem? If I was a watching sports on TV person, would my life consist so thoroughly of books? And would those books be so strongly aligned with classic science fiction and fantasy and literature? No. So, the first Jack Vance I have ever in my life DNF'd is Trullion Alastor 2262. There are so many amazing things about this book. If you even like sport a little bit, you should read this book for me. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me how wrong I am. Maybe I'll listen to you, because I don't think that I can sit through another 150 odd pages of sports ball, even for Jack Vance. If I could do it for anyone, it would be Jack Vance or Roger Zelazny, but I'm not sure I can. Anyway, thank you for watching. My deep, dark, secret shame as an Australian of not liking sports ball and being unable to finish a Jack Vance. No. Thank you for watching. Read good books. Have a great Christmas. We're nearly there. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Comment. Tell me I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I might be wrong. Let me know.